Thank you so much for joining me for our first official episode. This podcast does not have a name yet. So if you have any
This
fun
is the
ideas,
first.
yeah, you're the very first guest.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Yes. And I wanted to
Wow.
have you on because I think it was yesterday was Women in Agriculture Day. So happy Women in Agriculture Day, belated.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I immediately thought of you. And also, I just low key am obsessed with you. I think you're hilarious. I was showing my husband some of your Instagram videos last night, and we were both just cracking up. The ones of you chopping wood and saying all the stuff that men say to you is absolutely hilarious.
Well, thank you. I don't know why
Yeah.
my initial reaction when someone tells me I saw your video, my initial reaction is like, I'm so embarrassed and ashamed
Yeah.
for some reason, but it's on the internet. Obviously, I put it on the internet. It's just it's really strange. The internet is weird. And then for someone to be like, oh, I saw this. I'm like, oh no, you saw that? I was really dumb. I did a dumb thing on the internet.
I know, 'cause when you do those things, you're alone, so you're being your authentic self. Well, I feel like you are. There's a lot of creators that aren't.
Yeah. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. But so you are alone and doing weird stuff, and then you put it out there and someone comments on, you're like, oh, I feel awkward now.
Yeah, like, oh, you saw that. Oh, yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
I don't think I would care as much if it was a random person I don't know at all. But if one of my good friends or family members saw something and said something to me about it, it'd be like, that's awkward.
Yeah, that's just for the internet, for like random people on the internet, nowhere near me to see.
Okay, so you run and own Ysebaert Acres, and you have Scottish Highland cattle, correct? The super cute ones that you can buy a print of at Home Goods, and everybody has
They're
them
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like the furry cows with horns and the bangs. And yeah, like any store like that, they're everywhere.
Oh my gosh. So you're a first generation, right? First generation doing this?
Yeah. So the way I describe it is because the farm that I live on, I grew up on. And it's a little complicated, only for me, because I like to make things complicated. But my grandfather is a grain farmer, but we were not really personally involved with that. So I've been involved in agriculture my whole life in some respect. But yes, as far as cattle, we're the first generation, which is also complicated because my dad, when he was young, he had a few cows, but I don't consider that. Anyway, he had cows for like a little while. Anyway, so yeah, the farm we live on, my grandparents owned, my other side of the family. So we're technically the third generation on this farm, but I would classify us as first generation ranchers because we were the first. We didn't just get to take over something or step into a already established situation.
So did you always know that you were eventually going to get into doing this until taking over the farm and running it and making it your own? Was it always part of your plan, or did life just steer you in that direction?
No, not at all. I've always loved animals, and I've been a horse girl since I was little.
Oh my God, same.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And it's just the people who don't get it, they don't get it.
They don't get it. They don't.
So I always, in the back of my mind, even though my husband was like, no, I always knew I'm going to get horses. I'm going to have horses. So the dream is like, I would love to have, I never or was coming back here. Like I moved out west to Alberta. I was always the girl who was like, bye hometown. Like, I don't want to be here. I'm not coming back. And so yeah, curveball. But yeah, I did not intend ever to do this, let alone have cows. But I always liked animals. And I did a lot of different schooling, which, longest story short, started out with I wanted to be a fashion journalist. And then I didn't work out. And then what did I do next? It's wild. I don't even remember now. And then I went to school in Toronto for fashion business. And then I decided I wanted to work with animals. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to work with animals because that's wow. So I had this like epiphany. I'm like, I want to work with animals. So I was like, what makes sense? What's reasonable? And remember when I said I like to bite off more than I can chew? Yeah. I decided that I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Oh, yep.
So started to go back to school to get my undergrad for that, and then quickly realized no. Then pivoted to a veterinary technician, did that. And then at the same time, once I graduated, I learned that my dad was selling the farm. And we were like, well, we're out in Alberta and land there is, well, it's astronomical everywhere, but quite expensive out there. And the whole dream of having acreage with horses out there was like I was slowly learning that, oh, that's probably not going to happen. So when this came up, we were like, okay, well, we probably can't pass this up. We should do this. So we moved home. And then it wasn't for a few years that we suddenly had the epiphany of, I was vegetarian at the time. Plot twist.
Duh.
I was actually vegan for a hot minute, like a year
Oh my
probably.
God. So funny.
And then when I was pregnant with my first child, I forget at what point it was, but I just had this overwhelming urge one day that I had a huge craving for a chicken wing. And I was like, this is wild. And then I was no longer vegan. But that was really eye-opening for me because I saw that as, well, holy cow, obviously my body's telling me it needs meat, it wants meat, whatever. And it's not just me anymore. Before, when it was just me, you can eat crappy foods and blah, blah, blah. It's not ideal, but you're like, whatever. When there's another human you are now also feeding, it's a really weird thing. And I got really into that where I'm like, whoa, I don't actually know if my diet as a vegan is getting enough nutrients. And this is really important now. So I decided to listen to my body. And then at the same time decided that, okay, well, if I am going to be eating meat again, I want to make sure it's meat that I know was treated well, or I know exactly where it came from. And then we were like, why don't we just get a cow? Let's just get a couple cows. And then the whole bites off more that she can chew. I didn't just get a couple cows. I was like, well, let's just go for it. Let's just get some more. So we have like 19 now, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So why did you choose Scottish Highland cattle? What was the reasoning behind that?
It was mostly because the simple fact that we weren't getting cows with the intention of making any kind of profit. It was purely going to be for us. Like, we're going to grow or raise a few cows and it'll feed our family. So Scottish Highlands take longer to mature. So that's why they're not super popular and they're not in any like huge scale commercial beef operations, because the Scottish Highlands, they take 2.5 to 3 years to fully mature. So from like a financial business standpoint, like that's not, someone who wants to make a profit is not going to choose the 3
Something
years.
that takes 3 years. Yeah.
But for us, I was like, I don't care. We don't care about that. And I just like to do things that are different. And I also enjoy pretty things. And I'm also a photographer on another one of my side quests. So I said, why not have just something beautiful to enjoy while we're here? So yeah, it was really that.
Since you were a vegetarian and a vegan, what is it hard for you to not get attached to them? But if also you have most of them just around the farm and you're only doing like one for beef, you probably are in the mindset of like, okay, this is the one cow. I'm not going to get attached to this one.
So this topic, this is so hard for me to articulate because I don't know. I've struggled to see anyone articulate it in the way that I feel. So it's really hard to explain, but it's like, I do get attached to them and I get like frustrated, or what's the word, when society, and this is nothing against you, I mean in general in society, when people are like, don't get attached, I'm just like,
how can you not?
Like, not why not, but it's challenged my brain in the last couple of years that it's like, that seems backwards to me because, okay, the end result, whether you're attached or not, whatever its destiny is meant to be, in the meantime, like, why can't it be treated in the same way? And then it's a bit of a mental gymnastics thing, because then it's like, oh, your feelings are going to get hurt. Like, that's going to suck. I'm like, okay, but shouldn't that be my responsibility? The very least I can do is have my feelings hurt. I don't know. So it's very weird. And that's what a lot of people on the internet don't like, that I do get attached to my animals. And then still at the same time, every intention, this is 100% like, this is where, like, Kenny was our first beef steer and people are mad that I even named him Kenny. I'm like, what do you don't get attached to it if you don't want, but I really made it my mission, I guess, from the beginning, that if we were going to have meat, I want it to be raised well. And I also, not only do I want it to be raised well, I want to understand where my food comes from and I want to pass that on to my kids. So it's like, this is what happens. This is what happens behind the scenes.
In worse scenarios, I think what you're saying totally makes sense, because if you look at factory farming and there's these huge pastures of cattle, and I don't know, it's a system where it's just like, get them in, get them out. And to your point, why not give them the best life possible? And I think what you're saying totally makes sense.
Thank you.
So how many did you say you have right now? 19?
I think 19 right now. And it's weird that I'm saying I think because it's just been it's wild. We had literally three 3 years ago. And we've added to that by purchasing calves, but then also we've had two calvings now here. So this last summer was our biggest calving we've ever had. We had 6 new calves born, which is crazy because before the last time we had a calving, there was literally two. So it's
Wow.
cool because I finally feel like we're getting to a stage where, oh my gosh, okay, I feel like things are starting to pay off. Like it's such a long game, and especially because it takes 3 years to mature. That applies to both the males and females. So for beef, if they're going to be beef, we typically it's the steers. So it's the bull calves, the males, and then the females I keep. And then you have no idea if you're gonna get in calving 50-50 chance. So this year we had 3 bull calves born. So we know, okay, in 3 years, those are going to be beef.
Yeah.
Also, to piggyback on your question earlier, just
Yeah.
to so I know that those 3 will be beef, but at the same time, I still name them and they're still going to have the
Yeah.
same life as everybody else. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily weird. It's just not everybody's normal, you know?
And that's just what it is because it's not everybody's normal. And that's totally fine. People have a hard time like
Wrapping
accepting
their
something they don't
yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I have so many questions. I feel like I could just talk to you forever about this because I just find this so interesting.
I love it.
Walk me through your typical day. Is it just you and your husband running everything? Do you have other people that help you? And then on top of raising a family, I literally don't have the energy to do anything at the end of the day. And I just work on a computer. So I don't know how you do all the things that you do.
Every day is a little different, or I guess the seasons are different. Summer is a little busier. First of all, yeah, it's just like Andy is my husband. It's just me and Andy. And then we have 2 kids who are 4 and 6. So they're getting a little older, a little bit more into helping, but still the helping isn't like super helpful yet. So yes, it's just us two. My father-in-law will come out and help us with a few things, but for the most part, it's us. And we're okay with that. But yeah, it can get to be overwhelming. And my husband, he has a full-time job off the ranch. Our operation is absolutely not at a point where it's like, quit your job. Like nothing's happening. If that makes like
Yeah.
it's such a
Yeah.
long game. Like we sold 3/4 of a steer this year, but that was never the intention. So that's okay. But regardless of the amount of profitability, it's like the amount of work and time that needs to go into it, it's still the same, unfortunately. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the beauty of it is that we both legitimately enjoy it. So it doesn't feel like, oh my God, this is so much work. But typically, Andy will go to work early. So he gets out, he does the morning shift. I don't have to worry about it. Bless his heart. So he'll go out and check waters, and we've got our dogs to be fed. Morning chores aren't really labor intensive because usually everything's set up. So it's just like check the water, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it depends on the season. So in the summer, it's a lot busier because Andy started raising meat birds. So we have pasture raised turkeys and chickens, and that's a ton of work. But now that those are done, winter's a bit more chill because we've also taken them off pasture. So we rotationally graze the cattle, meaning we have 14 divisions of paddocks in our pasture, and we will rotate them every 2 to 3 days, depending on the weather, how wet it is, blah, 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 so that they're not on that specific plot of grass for too long, because if they overgraze it, then it destroys it and doesn't grow back. So this way you're giving each area of rest. Though I think the way we do it is it's about 30 days of rest. So it's our way of trying to increase biodiversity back on our property. And yeah, it's just a newer regenerative agricultural practice that Andy's really been passionate about. So that's a ton of work. But for me, it depends on what's going on. So some days I am on my computer all day, or I'm like my phone, filling everything always. Or if I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing that. But right now, I'm not. I'm really in a new thing. Well, I've been practicing it for about a year, I think, where I'm really working on sustainability for myself. Like I'm trying to do things. I'm trying to not burn myself out because that's just my personality. I have to do everything all at the same time, all at once. But yeah, with also kids, it's a lot. So I'm like, I've got my family I'm raising, I have the cows. And then at the same time, I'm doing content creation. I have brand partnerships and I have, oh my gosh, what else am I doing? I don't know, all the things. It's a lot. And I try to take it day to day, but I don't have a lot of chill, unfortunately.
Well, you can't. Like doing what you do, it
It's
seems like a
chaos
perfect
always.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do thrive in chaos.
So, do you guys ever get to go on vacation? Like, how do you leave the cows?
Yeah, no, it's no, yes, but no. We try to do like a trip a year, and this year we didn't even go far. We just got it like a cabin a couple hours away, and it was for a
Yeah.
few days. So either my dad or my father-in-law will come down and we'll set everything up so it's very straightforward and simple. We can't go when the meat birds are here because that's too much. Our chores used to be simpler to get away because we only have like a couple of cows, but now chores are getting much more involved and it just feels like a lot more to ask of someone. So no, we do not get away often.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And we're
would
kind of okay
imagine.
with that.
Yeah. I
We're
mean, it looks
homebodies.
beautiful where you live. So, I mean, you probably don't feel like you need to go anywhere. It looks so pretty.
Yeah, we like it here. We do like it here. And we are pretty introverted now.
I feel like it's safe to say that agriculture is like a pretty male dominated space. Have you noticed things shifting for women in agriculture since you carted the ranch? Do you feel like the community is becoming more welcoming to women?
It's so hard because primarily what I have to go off of is from the internet. So unfortunately, the internet shows a lot of ugly, also very good, lots of positive, but as my platform has grown on there, in general, as you grow, it welcomes more trash.
Haters.
Yeah, so it's hard because on one hand, I do feel like there are more women that are using their voice more and being more proud to advocate for being a woman in agriculture and sharing their day to day. But at the same time, I don't know that it is more welcoming because I feel like the whole dichotomy of being a woman is the fact that we're getting the confidence and to speak out more. But it's like when you do that, the men are more angered that you are speaking out and that they're threatened or whatever, whatever the reasons are. I see too much of the crap. So it's hard to stay positive sometimes. I do feel like more women are less intimidated to do what they want to do. But I do feel like in general, I'm not super optimistic about the men,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I know. I know. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, you'll post these reels on Instagram of you splitting wood. And I think I watched one the other day, and you were, as you were doing it, talking about all the stupid stuff that guys say to you about how you'll be like, doing it wrong or the way you do it is unsafe. And I love those videos because first of all, you just are like, I know what you're saying, but I have a reason behind the way I'm doing things, the way I'm doing them. And feel like there's so many misconceptions about women in male dominated fields. And I'm sure, especially in agriculture. And so, are there any myths about that you would love to bust? Anything that people say to you about a stereotype about women in your field that you're like, that's not true at all?
Honestly, I just think in general, just a total blanket statement. It's just the fact that I think if you reduce it all down is like people, men, society, not just men. I don't want to say just men because
Right.
there are tons of women that also
Right.
see it from this perspective that we are not capable or that like we require a man to do these things. And it's infuriating because it's like, please, no. And so it just like fuels me to be like, well, I'm not just doing this to troll you. I'm literally doing this anyway. And oh, it made you mad. Perfect. I'll do it more then because I hope that speaking up and speaking out about that hopefully gives another woman the confidence to be like, yeah, no, like I'm gonna do that. And I'm also gonna say something. Because I think one of the biggest problems is we have been trained by society, by the patriarchy. We're people pleasers. Well, I am. Most people are. But in women in general, like you just have to, oh, that's just how it is. Like, that's what people say. So you just have to accept it. No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also, like, if some weird old man at the hardware store says something stupid to you or something mildly misogynistic just because he's a cute old man, you don't have to just, okay, it does depend. That's a tough one because a cute old man, okay, we're going to let it slide. Okay, a middle-aged man, perhaps.
Yeah.
Definitely the younger men. When they say something to you that makes you feel like, what? Like that did, ugh. And we're just so trained to our first response to be like, to like just
Yeah.
laugh it off. But speaking up and speaking out about it is so important. But there's also another side to that because it's now, unfortunately, because of the patriarchy, we are trained to stay quiet and to laugh it
Yeah.
off because we're uncomfortable or we're in a situation where like this could be dangerous. So the internet is a safer place in that respect to speak up and speak out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like my husband is a man, but he's a good one. There are
Same.
good ones.
Yeah. There are.
But oh my gosh.
That kind of leads me into something I wanted to talk about, social media and content creation. How did that become a part of your story? Was it something you planned to do or did it just happen naturally?
I always had a personal Instagram account. I started an account for Ysebaert Acres. It was at Ysebaert Acres. And it was with no intention to like create a brand and grow and whatever. It was literally one of those things where you post like a gym selfie just to keep yourself accountable, like just to document the progress. And so I started that when we decided to get cows and we decided, okay, let's like build this farm. So I started it then so I could document all the progress we were making. And I was, oh, well, it is cool because I wonder if there's anyone else out there doing the same thing, or maybe I can get inspiration or connect with people who are doing the same thing and vice versa. So it started there. And then I just really like storytelling and I just like, I love animals. And I feel like those two things, when they come together in the like, I was just meant to be a content creator because I love just taking what I have and like sharing the story because it's hilarious. All my animals are characters and people love it. And I don't know why, but it's funny. So that just happened that I would just share like the day-to-day things that we were doing. And then I got to the point where I decided, okay, well, maybe I would rather this be more my personal account because I feel more so that the things I'm sharing are a reflection of me with the ranch as part of the brand rather than I didn't want to be like, I'm a reflection of the ranch. So I was like, that's when I rebranded and changed my handle to my own name.
Did your following grow suddenly or was it like gradual? Is there a moment in time you can look back on and be like, that was the thing that made my following grow? Or it just is like, just happened on its own?
It was gradual for a while. And then there's been like a few blips of virality. I think the first biggest one I think was I used to incubate chicken eggs. Like I would hatch them myself and I shared that and people loved that. And it's funny because like virality, like, oh, I'm going to follow her because she hatches chickens. I haven't done it in 2 years. I'm not doing that anymore. I am always confused why people follow me because it's like, oh, are you following me for chickens? Because one day it's chickens and then you may not get chickens for 3 weeks and then it's cows and then it's a dog and then there's a donkey. And then I like throw in a sprinkling of like feminism and yeah, I don't know. It's all just luck, honestly. And just, I don't understand any of it, probably.
Well, I think too, it's a combination of all of those things you described. There's really no other content creator out there like you that I can think of. And it's a mix of you have the cutest animals ever, and you're just so funny and very relatable. And I feel like people just really enjoy authentic, relatable content. I think people can tell when somebody's truly being themselves.
I appreciate that.
And we already talked about this, but obviously there's so many haters on the internet and social media isn't always the kindest place to be. How do you handle the criticism and the negative comments? I know you mentioned, oh, if a guy tells me that they don't like something, I'm just going to keep doing it. Does that ever get to you? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, like I'm a human being and it's wild because the people that say the things that they do on the internet, I know very well they would never say it to my face.
Yeah.
I have days if I'm like, this bothers me, I'm like, nope, delete, block, we're not acknowledging it, blah, 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 blah. But when I'm feeling good, I'm like, you can't touch me. This is so funny. I'm going to troll you back, because that's one of my favorite pastimes, is to troll the trolls back. Then sometimes I'll do that. But I have in the last what happened in the last 6 months, maybe? I guess also to answer your question, there was this past summer. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I had a bunch of ducks, hatched ducklings, like free range ducks. And one of them was born with a deformed foot, and I called him Scoots. And I was trying to rehabilitate him. I was just I was trying to help him out. And I documented all of it. And then he died after 7 days. But the internet ate it up. And it's weird, but it's also like the fact that he was with us for 7 days, but that whole series of Scoots blew up. And I do think that's where another blip where I did jump a bit. That was some context. So since then, my platform did grow significantly more than it usually would with like a viral event.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I have found that the more eyeballs, there's so much more hate.
Yeah.
Which is like, how can you hate me when I'm out here with my baby duck? Anyway, so because of that, I have had to shift my boundaries and my reactions, I guess, because it is so overwhelming. And no human being no nervous system is designed to take that much of everyone else's opinions and trash. Like, you just can't. I've been more taking the thing where like I just don't read my notifications. I just I'll open it up, because if I look at it, it's just filled with people telling me how terrible I am. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I won't look at them. And if I do happen to see one that's like triggering or like really bad, I will just block it and I'll report it. I do a lot of reporting. Instagram doesn't do much about it. But anyway, so that has shifted. I haven't been trolling the trolls back that much. I don't know. It's hard because there is more good. There is more good on the internet, but when you go viral, it just seems like all the bad is coming in. So then in your brain, you're like, oh my God, like this is so toxic. I don't want to be here. And then it takes away from the fact that you can't focus on any of the good anymore, because all you're seeing, you feel like all you're seeing is the bad. So I've just tried to step back from that aspect. And just, you guys can have your arguments in my comment section and you can drive up my views. That's fine.
Mention that there's a lot of good on the internet. Do you have a memorable moment with a follower, kind of thanks to your online presence, or is there a positive story you can share?
This is a reminder to myself in this moment that I need to be mentally focusing and remembering these things that happen more, because I'm so bad for letting the bad things not get to me necessarily, but poison the good, I guess. So because there's no like major event that happens, but I will constantly have my DMs with just like the nicest things, or like someone just went out of their way that day, even just 2 days ago. Someone just wanted to be like, I just want to let you know, I love you, I love your authenticity, and I love all your stuff, and I just thought I would tell you that. And I'm like, that's just nice. And I just need to focus on that, because I do get messages like that. And also when I am posting more about more women empowerment things, and when I have my wood chopping videos, but the tone is feminism and empowerment, during those times I will get a lot of comments and DMs of people saying like, thank you, like I now feel, I don't know, this has inspired me to go do this. Or people will tag me in stories where they're like chopping wood and they're like, trying this because Laurel, whatever. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. So it is cool. And it's weird because I have a really hard time accepting compliments. So then that does remind me that, okay, the little dumb things you do on the internet, even though it makes a lot of people mad, they're doing some good sometimes. And then I don't care about the negative then, because then all that matters is like, that's great. And if I can help one person feel empowered to tell someone off and go do their own thing unapologetically, then I feel good about that. There is a lot of good, and I need to focus on it more.
I totally get it. We tend to focus on the negative rather than the good, because the negative is the thing that tends to stand out more. But for every one negative comment, there's probably like 20 positive ones.
For sure. Yeah. I have a lot of awesome people in my community. It's fantastic. Yeah.
If a young woman, or a woman in general, came to you saying that she wanted to get into agriculture, what would be the first piece of advice that you would give to her?
There's so many branches I want to go off. First of all, slay, absolutely, do it.
Yes.
I feel like if it's someone who wants to get into agriculture, then they probably already have an idea of the climate of agriculture in the patriarchy standard. Yeah. But I would just want to make sure that like prepare them to just don't be. It's gonna come. It's gonna happen. It's still out there. All those the tone, the energy, the people, they're still out there that are gonna say all these things to you. Don't be intimidated by it. And if it's what you want to do, just think of that. Don't let outside noise. Don't let anyone's opinion, especially some dusty 30-year-old man who wants to tell you that you don't know how to run a tractor. They don't pay your bills. They have absolutely no effect on your life. So you just need to unapologetically do what you want to do. And that honestly, and that's not even specifically for agriculture. I think just in general, any more male dominated industry, it's hard to be a woman and no one takes it seriously. And if you hear enough of these kind of microaggressions of little misogynistic attacks, after a while they add up and they wear you down. And so if while you're used to hearing is years of like, oh, well, women can't, that's too heavy, or like, you don't know how to do that, or that's whatever, then that's what you start to believe, unfortunately. So, and that was me. And that's like women everywhere. It's just waking up and realizing, no, that's not true. And I'm going to decide. I'm going to do things based off my own decisions, not based off your opinion. So that's a harder thing to unlearn. I would just tell her to not take any shit. Period. Just yeah. It's hard. It's hard, but if you want to do it, because we need more women in agriculture. We do. There's tons of jobs. It's an amazing industry. There's so many different routes you can go. And like the earth literally needs you. We need you. So don't let the men stop. I have a man that I love. I'm raising a young man, but yeah, we're not going to let anybody, man or woman, stop us from doing what we want to do, because we are doing things for ourselves. And that is a hard concept to grasp if you have raised as a people pleaser and raised to absorb everyone else's opinions. You just got to stay true.
Final question. Looking into the future, what is next for you as a brancher, a content creator, any big plans you're excited about?
I don't have any big plans. It's wild because retrospectively, if I look at everything that has happened, I could not have predicted the next step.
Yeah.
It's all just, I've just been letting go and trying to go with the flow, which is very hard because again, I am not very chill. So I am trying to go into next year with kind of the same energy that I tried to go into this previous year with the sustainability thing, and trying to do things based off of what is good for me and my family, but still following my heart. So I'm open to things, but I'm not going to set any major expectations for myself because things just happened how they're supposed to. And I've learned to evolve with it. So I just in the last few months, I didn't anticipate that I did want to lean more into the content creation aspect. And in the last few months, I have been with a talent agency, which I wouldn't have anticipated happening. So with all these new things in place, I really have no idea what is next, but I'm excited. And ultimately, I think the common thread is I am just trying to stay true to myself. So no matter what happens or where we go, I just step into that next phase fully myself. And then I know that if I can stay authentic, then what's meant to happen will happen. I've been wanting to use my platform for more good. Or I used to be more vocal about social justice issues and things like that. And I feel like I have not been so much recently, but that's also, I've got to give myself grace because I have small kids and there's only so much they can do on the internet and also at home. Sustainability. But I have been itching to use my platform more for this. I'm really passionate, obviously, about, I hate calling it feminism because I feel like people use that as a bad word when it's just not. It literally just means equality. So I'm going to use it, whatever. Yeah, I really want to get more into doing something with empowering women aside from just posting videos. So I don't know what that looks like. I don't know, maybe if I lean into a little more public speaking, something like that. I don't know, but I do have a craving to have more purpose, I guess. I don't know. So TBD, stay tuned. Who knows?
Well, I can't wait to see what's in store for you and the exciting things that you do. And I just feel like you were an excellent first guest to the podcast that does not have a name yet, but will maybe have a name if I can think of one. I really wanted to start this because at Xena, we work with so many incredible women in these male-dominated fields and industries, and they're sharing their stories on their social media, but I don't think like the patriarchal side of it gets talked about enough. And so to your point, feeling called to speak more about feminism, I think it's like perfect intro to this podcast. Yeah, thank you so much for being the first official guest.
I'm so honored, and I love that. I didn't know I was the very first, but I love the energy that we're opening with. And I do think, women are more nervous to talk about it, I think, because of the reaction. Look at me. Look at the reaction I get. You talk about it, but you also get equally a good reaction. So it's like you have to keep the good in mind because you're always going to have the bad. So it's great. That's great. I'm excited to see all the stories that women are already sharing, but here in one place, that's going to be really fun.
Well, oh my gosh, I could just talk to you all day. I feel like I didn't even get into all of the things that I really wanted to ask. Well, have a great holiday. And
You too.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.